Today I'm excited. I've got a very special guest here, Judge Andy Isaacs. He's been on the show before, but we were talking CHL at that time. Today we're not going to be talking about CHL, but I've known my guest for many years now, and what I love about him is that he's the real deal. He's a vessel for the Lord to use, yet he knows that. He has flesh and blood, and he has the battles of every person who's got flesh and blood, and the battle between the flesh and the spirit like all of us do. He does not pretend to be perfect or know all the answers. He's a man who is humble and willing to ready to serve the Lord and his community. One of the things he is most passionate about is changing the lives of youths he comes in contact with in a positive manner. So today I'm going to be talking with Andy Isaacs, co-founder of Morning Star Ranch Ministries, and we'll be asking him questions about what he does, why he does it, and who can benefit from it. So, without further delay, I want to introduce to you now Judge Andy Isaacs. Judge, how you doing?
Thank you very much. Great.
It's good to see you. I'm glad you could make it here today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We got about 20 minutes we're going to be talking to you, and we wrote down a whole bunch of questions. We went to lunch, had a nice conversation. We were talking about what we wanted to go over. And I've been to your ranch. My sons have gone to your ranch, your ministry, and they've had a fantastic time, major benefits from them. So what I want to do, Judge, first of all, let me open it up by this. Say, is there anything you want to open with right off the bat before we get into this, question and answer type of session and debate? Is there anything you want to talk about?
One of the things that people always ask is, what is Morning Star Ranch Ministries? We are a 501c3 ministry where we do camps for underprivileged youth, not troubled, underprivileged. That means, and our forte is really the kids between the bad kids and the athletes, the ones that kind of fall through the cracks. And we just really try to equip them to have a better life.
Okay, so with that, I want to say to the audience out there, people say, well, what does this have to do with a prep show? It has a lot to do with a prep show. Because what we're going to do is there's many different forms of being prepared. And one of them is getting our children ready for life. And those kids, like he was just talking about, fall through the cracks. We have places like what Andy has to offer, Judge Isaac has to offer in his ministry, and gets those people who are falling through the cracks and guide them and direct them. Would that be a correct statement, Judge?
Yes.
All right. Before we get into the details, if I ask you to explain what the goal is of Morning Star Ranch in 3 sentences or less, what would it be to the audience? I mean, if somebody asks you, hey, what's the deal about it? What do you do? What's the whole concept? Why are you doing it? In 3 sentences or less, just the overall picture.
We have a saying on our deal that help lead teens, keep teens from a life of destruction. Most young people today don't know how to do things like work, how to speak to people, how to interact. And we really work on God's plan and purpose for them through that.
I have that happen to me all the time. I cannot acknowledge what you just said enough. I have so many people who don't know how to pick up a phone and talk on the phone, interface with people. They got their face in their phone, not face to face. All right, Judge, how long has the Morning Star Ministries been in existence?
Actual existence about 20 years. My wife and I got our 501c3, and we're led by the Lord to do this. It's a constant work. It's not something that we've completed. It's something that we're continuing to work on. Things change. We do things differently now than we did 20 years ago.
I'm going to be asking you questions that may overlap on other questions, but that we'll expand upon those once they overlap. But who is actually the brainchild for Morning Star Ranch? I know when we were talking about it, you kind of gave me this answer. I'm thinking about who comes up with it. You gave a pretty interesting story about that.
How we came to this place was God worked on Rita Kay in one direction. He worked on me in another. I was a city boy, lived in the roughest part of Dallas, around Fair Park, but had been raised by my grandparents, a lot of it. And I always wanted to live in the country and have horses and cattle, and I've always been good with teenage kids. And Rita Kay always wanted to have a kids camp. And through a long series of circumstances that we don't have enough radio time in a week to tell, We came to Milano, Texas at Morning Star Ranch.
Where'd you come from originally? Where was it?
We were living in Duncanville. Rita Kay and I both were living in Duncanville, going to church at Evangelical Methodist Church there in Duncanville.
So the concept idea came there, but your
Right.
actual application of the program was in Milano?
We got our inspiration from some friends of ours that have a camp in West Clef, Colorado called Operation Uplift. And then God led us from there. God led us to be in Texas and what we did.
I'll tell you, everybody, if you saw their facility there, it's very nice. It's set back there in the woods, way away from everything. It's very tranquil, peaceful. You can really get to know yourself and the good Lord going down there. How did you come across the property? Because I was looking at that and saying, one, how did you find that place? Was this a divine intervention, or were you physically seeking property out? How'd that work?
No, it had to be divine intervention. And to really make a long story short, we were looking at property in the Federal Land Bank magazine. Federal Land Bank has a magazine that comes out, or did have, I don't know if they still do, once a month, that has all their foreclosures on it. And we had two kids that were going to go to college, and we thought they were going to go to A&M, and my wife, wanting to stay in their business, decided we ought to look at around there. So we started looking around the Bryan College Station area, and there were two pieces of property in Milam County. We went and looked at them, but they weren't going to fit what we needed. But we really fell in love with the area. So Rita Kay, through some circumstances that are kind of wild, we ended up finding Pud Owens Realty in Rockdale, and he took us out there and showed it.
Okay, Pud Owens, you can pay for advertiser.
And Pud was really instrumental in finding the place, but then he handled the paperwork. But we originally saw this place and fell in love with it, but knew at the time, we said there's no way we could afford this. It just so happened the property was landlocked, in that there were no easements to it, and the Federal Land Bank had changed its way it loans property. If there's no easements or no way to it, they wouldn't loan it. They would loan on anything, but then they had to get a little more refined, and we were able to purchase easement, 1 acre easement into that property, and that made us be able to buy the land much cheaper. We were living on some property in Lampasas, outside of Lampasas, running a ranch for some other people when this all came about.
All right, Judge, you got this land. It's a beautiful piece of land. I've been there many times.
We started off with a hog trap and a pole barn.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's not kidding. I mean, if you look at the facility now, it's incredible. And the way the Lord works and blesses him with many donations and things that have improved the facility. It's great. But, Judge, with all that, now that you've got all this set up here, what's the age group of the kids that go to your ministry?
Going into the 7th grade, I mean 6th graders and up, usually 12 to 15 is our target area. The ones that a lot of people don't like to work with because it can be a little hard-headed. But for us, they're pliable and they're eager. We do things like teach them how to work and short work projects.
I was going to ask you, what's your method and philosophy of teaching these kids when they come to the Morning Star Ranch there, the ministries? You talk about work, love, entertainment, right? Tell us about those.
It's a multitask type situation. My wife takes care of most of the inside teaching in the Bible study, and she makes the Bible study real to them, so it applies to them. They understand it. And most of these kids have no biblical training at all. And when I say no biblical training, they don't know the basic stories like David and Goliath, Noah and the Ark, anything. And when we first started 10 years ago with the kids, about 10% knew those stories.
When you have an individual like that who is totally clueless on those stories, and then they come to this ranch and they don't know you, and then you start giving these stories out of this book, what's the reaction? What's the reception of it?
You would be shocked at how well they receive it. You know, they're so eager to know that we show them a lot of love and we show them a lot of patience, and we have good cooks that cook them good food. They eat 6 times a day. We didn't really realize that until one of our kids writing a thank you letter to his sponsor said, you know, they feed us 6 times a day, and I eat every one of them. We feed them breakfast, snack between breakfast and lunch, snack between lunch and and supper, and then we have a late
So
night.
the old adage goes, the way of a person's heart is through their stomach.
That's right. And then we show them a lot of concern and care. We get to know them personally. We limit our group size to 25 or less because of that. We don't take more than 25 or less at a time. We're really one-on-one interaction with them. We use horseback riding, obviously, as a hook. We actually teach them how to ride. We teach them how to handle a horse. And what that does is teach them that in life you're going to have obstacles, and you're going to have to learn to overcome them. We get them on Wednesday. On Saturday, they are competing in a horse obstacle competition.
And I've seen that many times. It's impressive. It really is.
For kids that don't know anything, we've had AQHA judges and stuff that have come in and actually judged this for us, and they are shocked at what the kids are able to do.
Well, I know my son.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been watching the show, you know my son, my acting crackhead, when he's the one used for my seminars, breaking into the house. He was in here, and there's a video of him. Go to the KTEM YouTube channel, you'll see it there. But he was kind of apprehensive on horses, and great kid, but he was a little leery of it. And then Andy here just takes care of what happened to him.
He really overcame a lot more. Dylan was really afraid, and part of it was he got pitched. He got thrown off. That happens sometimes. He got thrown off, and he had to get back up. But he kept coming, and he overcame it. Dylan did just come one time. Our kids most time come 3 or 4 times.
Now, we were talking about that too. If a kid comes to the program there, they can come back how many times after that?
We promise them 3 times that we find scholarship money for them. We go out and find people that want these, that understand what we do, that understand how we do it and why we do it, and they give us $200 per kid for them to go to camp. And we promise them 3 times they can come back for free.
So let me get this straight here. You're providing a ministry that conveys work, love, entertainment, the whole gamut here. Of course, obviously, to become closer to the Lord and to become better people as they grow up. But you're paying for them to come to the program. Explain that again. How's that work?
That's right. We're the kids we target are obviously, when we say underprivileged, with no money. And 90% of the kids, we have to go out and find scholarship money for them.
So the people who are giving you scholarships are people who know you, understand what you're doing, and they say, hey, I agree, I'm under the same mindset as you are. I want these kids to have a chance at it, so we're going to donate. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't donate to this show, you should donate to Morning Star Ministries there, and they're doing a great work out there. Tell me about the work part of it. Here you got kids coming in. Are they thinking it's slave labor? Tell me about that.
No, ours, we go to them and we'll say, okay, we're going to do this project, and it's all ranch work, dragging brush, cutting up stuff, cleaning stuff, and we tell them, that this is what we're going to do, and it's an outcome based. They get to see the project. It's one of the deals where look what we have done, look what we have accomplished, and we explain to them that they're doing work that if we were doing it by ourselves, it would take us months to do, but because we have 20 kids at a time, we can get this work done pretty well. And some of them are apprehensive at first. After they get the hang of it, man, we've had days where we couldn't work because of weather, and they're like, can't we find some work to do?
What do you think it is? They're just so hungry for accomplishment?
Accomplishment, attention, direction, understanding. We tell them that, hey, you're going to have to work if you're going to get ahead in this life.
You hear that, everybody? There's a whole bunch of people out there. All they need is guidance, direction, attention, compassion. Each and every one of you out there, including myself, everybody has it in them to do something for somebody else, and it can make a world of difference. The entertainment and the horseback riding, you were talking to me about ranch rangers. What's that all about?
As the kids progress through our camp, we have one camp that's called Ranch Rangers, and what they do is they have to actually pay for part of their camp. It's much more intensive. Like when we do work projects with the Ranch Rangers, the adults only supervise. They just make sure they're safe. We have.
Let's back up for a second. So in other words, these kids come to the ranch, the basic way we just discussed, but at a certain point when they're there, they come back, or at that point when they're there?
No, they come back. They come back. Right, this is a much more leadership development camp where the kids are basically in charge of a lot of it. We put them in charge. We'll put you, like your son will come, and he's a leader, and he has 5 other kids. We give them a job, and then he has he has to get the kids together and do the job, and all we do is supervise that. The Bible study is much more intensive, much more relative. They have to be more involved. They have to give answers. They're not, and there's no wrong answer. Reedy K does a great job of teaching them. They enjoy being there. The singing and worship we do in the evenings, they're much more involved with. It's a leadership intensive training because we're only there just a few days. Leadership, but once the kids attain that, they also come back several times during the year and help with projects. These kids become part of our family.
I mean, you're getting quite a reputation out there. There's many Boy Scouts going through their Eagle Scout that come down there and see what you're doing, and they want to do major projects like fixing buildings, painting buildings, and all that. I'll tell you what. Speaking of that, let's talk about this: the housing available. Because I remember it started with almost nothing, and now you have buildings all over the place. And the food, who cooks the food, what kind of food? I know you said it's 6 times a day, but talk to me about the housing and where they stay and how it came to be.
We sleep 45 in 3 different cabins, and actually we have 5 different houses now that we utilize within the ministry. Food is, we have volunteers come in to cook, and it's good home cooked meals. Not your typical camp food. You're not normally going to have,
I can vouch for this. I've had some of their food, and sometimes I want to go back just because.
It's like we have dessert. That's it's outstandingly the meals that we go through are. Well, I can't. For me, because I get spoiled to it because I'm there all the time, but we don't cook like that all the time. I can't get Reedy K to cook at all unless we got a group.
You got to have a company to eat, right? Okay.
So, but it's things that you're not that you would used to see at home all the time. We have the best chicken spaghetti recipe in the world. In fact, we have fundraisers where we do trail rides that we took chicken spaghetti off the trail ride list, and they had a riot. So. It's just things like that.
Now, you're talking about your volunteers, the adult volunteers. How has that become a ministry in itself?
Being an adult, so we have no paid staff. Morningstar Ranch Ministries has no paid staff. We have 2 kids a year occasionally, not every year, because it's got to have the right kid that we pay to be at the summer camps, and we work them hard, very hard. They're up before everybody else, and they go to sleep after everybody else. They have to work really hard, and we pay those 2 kids that have graduated up to that point. There's no other paid staff. Being a member, when you see these kids come in and they're scared to death to begin with because they don't know who we are and what we do, and then leave begging to stay.
I've seen that.
Begging to stay. And it's not because they have bad houses. Most of them come from homes that are one or both parents are gone for whatever reason. But there's still some good things.
Andy, I'm one of those guys. I've been to your place and I know what it's all about. But I'm one of those guys who stands back in the shadows because I don't want to interfere. I don't want to be an influence. I want to see how it works, and I see how it works. They are so overwhelmed by their unbelieved thought that they could do something and accomplish it, that they're loved, trusted, taken care of, and that they have this motivation, inspiration to go out there and just attack the world now. You know what I mean? So I see it, ladies and gentlemen. He does a great ministry. And how much does it cost for a 3-day?
$200.
$200. And if you don't have it, you find people that have it. And you said how the kids can come back
3 times free. We provide them scholarships 3 different times. And the last time, if they qualify for it and want to, the last one, the Ranch Rangers, we pay part of it, and they are responsible to find or to earn or to go out and work for $100 of their own scholarship money for that.
Wow, that's fantastic. How about a website? Do you have a website that people can go to?
Yes, it's MSR Ministries, plural with S.org. And if you look up if you Google it, just put Morningstar Ranch in Milano, Texas, and it'll come up on it.
Morningstar Ranch, MSR Ministries.org. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't encourage you enough to go check it out. If you feel led to donate or whatever, or help, volunteer, I'm sure you can contact him via the website there and talk to Andy or Reedy K, his lovely wife, and that's msrministries.org. Check it out. Judge, any last final words before we close up and take a break for about a minute?
I'm going to say one thing. We've had one of the things that touched me the most the last year. We had a kid that had been coming to our camp for a while. We asked him to get up and give a testimony blindly, and he said, Before I came here, I used to cry myself to sleep every night because I was afraid of dying. And now, because of what Morningstar Ranch has shown me and what Andy and Miss Rita Kay have shown us, is that I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid that I won't get to tell enough people about Jesus Christ before I die.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. All right, ladies and Judge, I appreciate you coming in here. It's good talking to you.